Are you looking for a detachment that really lets you cut loose and show off your sick knife skills? Are you all about emphasizing the powerful melee effects the Emperor's Children can bring to bear? Then grab the swords you bought from Excalibur at the mall and strap in, because today we're looking at the Peerless Bladesmen detachment for the Emperor's Children. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank Games Workshop for providing us with a preview copy of these rules for review purposes. And if you really want to hone your blade, read more at Goonhammer.com. Link in the description. Detachment Rule: Exquisite Swordsmanship. Each time an Emperor's Children unit from your army fights, if it charged this turn, then you can choose for it to gain either lethal hits or sustained hits 1 on its melee attacks until they're resolved. This is great. It's a solid and flexible boost for your melee output, and it combos with the Thrillseeker's ability to fall back and charge, ensuring you'll always want to be dropping back and charging in against a new target to maximize your damage output. The melee output from Demon Princes, Flawless Blades, Terminators, and Infractors can be pretty lackluster on their own, making it helpful to be able to give them this extra bump. Unsurprisingly, all the enhancements focus on the fight phase, and there's a must-take in there. Faultless Opportunist lets your character heroically intervene for free, even if another unit already has this turn. It's cheap and decent, a good way to spend those last few points. Blinding Speed gives the bearer's unit a once per game fights first ability. This is always solid and always powerful, and realistically something you only need to get once per game most of the time anyways, making your unit feel impossible to charge. Distortion gives its bearer +1 attacks and damage on melee weapons. It's insanely good and a must-take in the army. It's particularly wonderful on a Demon Prince, where it gets you 4 damage strikes and 2 damage sweeps. Rise to the Challenge gives you a once per game ability to fight twice if you're within engagement range of 3 or more models. This is very strong, but difficult to make work, and we'd have liked it more if you could take it on a Demon Prince. Once again, most of these stratagems are used in the fight phase. Deft Parry gives a unit -1 to be hit in the fight phase, always useful as a defensive buff. Death Ecstasy is your standard 2 CP fight on death stratagem. It's expensive, but more reliable than the 1 CP versions that only fight on a 4-up. Incessant Violence gives a unit a 6-inch consolidate move. This is pretty situational, but it can be helpful to sweep ahead and tag some key shooting unit. Just be mindful that you're gonna get hit by them that same turn. Cruel Bladesman gives a charging unit +1 to its AP for the fight phase. This is a huge offensive boost, and for 1 CP, it's something you're going to want to smash every time you charge. Terrifying Spectacle can force enemy units to take extra battle shock tests within 6 inches of one of your units that just killed something. This is fine, but it's situational, and most of the time you'll have better things to spend your command points on. Cut Down the Weak lets you charge an enemy unit that fell back this turn. This is pretty nasty as a way to chase down a unit falling back or get in a free charge. It's mostly a defensive play to protect your unit by putting them back in melee, and for 2 command points, it's kind of a lot, but when you pull it off, it's gonna be nasty. As the detachment that gives you passive buffs for your damage output, Peerless Bladesmen is your option if your focus is purely on melee with your Emperor's Children. Which isn't to say you can't take some shooting, but the primary focus here is going to be getting the most out of Fulgrim, Mauler Fiends, Demon Princes, Flawless Blades, and Infractors. Lethal hits is a big help for getting your units to punch up, and sustained hits is a must-have on Flawless Blades to mitigate their small number of attacks per model. There aren't a lot of movement tricks in this detachment, so you're going to be more reliant on your unit's based movement to get around or transports for protection. Because your tricks are only okay, a good Peerless Bladesman list is going to primarily focus on taking the detachment's best data sheets to maximize the value it can get per point. Winged Demon Princes love this detachment, and it's probably Fulgrim's favorite too. This is also a detachment where you give up relatively little by taking some War Dog Brigands for range support, as nothing here is geared to work with ranged units anyways. Now let's go over those strengths and weaknesses. This detachment gives you a broad boost to your melee output that works on any unit in the army, plus additional buffs with enhancements. It's not a ton, but the combo of lethal hits and being able to boost AP can be a big help taking down heavier targets like vehicles and melee. Between the 6-inch consolidate and charging fleeing foes, you've got some nice post-combat tricks to work with here. Now unfortunately, while it helps you a lot on the melee front, Peerless Bladesman does nothing for your ranged output, meaning all of your problems with the army are still there. Compared to other detachments, you're definitely working with fewer tricks for zipping around the table. You've also only got 1 defensive buff here, and it only works in melee. If you're looking to build a melee-focused Emperor's Children army, this is probably where you want to go. The tricks here are only okay, so you'll want to focus on hitting hard with fast, efficient data sheets. When it all goes well, you'll be using this detachment to get the most out of your Flawless Blades, cutting down bigger threats with impunity. If you want to keep sharpening your blades, why not head over to Goonhammer.com to read more about this faction, how we paint them, and how we play them. You can also back us on Patreon for even more cool stuff. I've been Katana McMall Samurai, and while you were watching this video, I was studying the blade. Thanks for watching.